You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin.
Good morning. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie County State Corporation for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. I'd like to note for the record that this meeting is being webcast. We welcome public comment on today's agenda items. I also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by noon yesterday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items so far. I'll also note that we do not have any members of the public attending today's meeting unless we hear from them, and we will acknowledge them at each vote. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. And I appreciate the staff for getting the information out in very timely fashion. Before we begin the substantive portion of this meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the agenda items today. If so, I would ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on a record at this time. We'll then be sure that you have recused yourselves from any discussion on voting on those issues. So open up to any directors. Any conflicts? Seeing none, hearing none. Our first order of business is going to be the approval of the minutes of the directors meeting of January 23rd, 2023. We've had that in advance. A discussion, a motion to pass, a second. Second. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes passed. Thank you. Next, thank you for that motion. I now want to present the first item on today's agenda. I'm proud to present this. Is the appointment of Steve Bernelli as the president of the corporation. Steve is currently the president of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation and has been with the state for 15 years. He is a professional engineer and holds a degree in civil engineering from the University of Buffalo. Now the subject and the project is gearing up for the construction phase. I think Steve's background and experience makes him a perfect candidate to lead the state's effort with the new stadium project. I know the Bills project is a focus of Governor Hochul, and the appointment as president today reinforces her commitment to make sure the project is successful. And we're very proud to have Steve Bernelli here. It was a stellar reputation. And before we entertain a vote, I'd like to give Steve a chance to say a few words. So, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm really excited about the possibility of coming on board to lead this. What we've done at the waterfront over the last 15 years. And with support of the governor over the last year to really expedite the work and get things moving. Looking forward to do similar with the stadium to make sure we can get this great project done for all of Western New York. So thank you again to the governor and to the ESD team for the opportunity.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments relative to Steve's appointment?
Just want to offer him congratulations.
Let's get him in first.
Our motion. I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Mr. Chair.
Any discussion at all? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you very much.
Now we congratulate him.
Congratulations.
That's great. Okay. That carries and next we'll turn over actually before we go on, if anyone from the public is here wants to comment, each time we vote on something, if anyone is here from the public who wants to comment, we'll offer that time. Seeing none, that's great.
Steve's wife's here and wants to say fans today, no fans.
Well, it's a great motion. And I would say on a record, Steve is a great addition to this team, and he brings a lot of experience, which to be very helpful throughout the construction phase. So we welcome him. and appreciate all the directors supporting that. Next, I want to ask Steve Gullick to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for authorization for the corporation to adopt its operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2023 and 24. So please, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. Annually, under the Public Authorities Law, the corporations are required to adopt the budget. So the budget for the stadium corporation, I'll start with the capital, is the obvious $600 million, which will flow through ESD, but be administered by the stadium corporation for the project. We're asking, as part of the capital budget, for a $300 million allotment, which is half. Right now, that's one of the things we're still working on the bills, what the actual cash flow is going to be, but we don't expect it to be, I mean, the state's portion of the construction budget won't be more than $300 million. So obviously, over the course of 3 years, we expect and we will expend $600 million of the state's money. Debbie, April Baskins just showed up. So
Thank you.
okay, and then the second one is our operating budget, and we have $630,000 for personal services. We're budgeting 4 people to help manage the project, obviously Steve being one of them. We've already transferred one of our construction persons over who worked for ESD, who is going to be managing the construction, Mike Fitzner. He's been for about 6 months now, primarily engaged just with the stadium project. We're bringing on another junior construction person that will start in April, and we have another position available. So that's kind of going to be the team. The budget also includes, I think it's $1.9 million. I don't know, a total of 1.9. So we have $1.2 million for consultants. That's primarily legal. We also last year brought on Lyro Engineers, is going to help us staff the project, manage the construction aspects, manage the payment applications, monitor MWBE compliance and that. So that's what that money's for. But again, the capital budget is $300 million for the state share of the construction. And then the non-capital portion is for expenses related to staffing and outside consultants we're going to use to manage the project.
You see, first of all, any comments from directors?
I have a question. Under the consultant fees, will those contracts be bid in accordance with the guidelines relative to bidding practices and MWBE?
Yes, they are. They were. And ESD authorized those contracts last year. So it was the ESD board that approved the contracts, and they're currently, we've entered the contracts.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you know the names of the firms that?
Yeah, Sibley, we have Hodson Russ locally, who's doing our construction and our real estate. Sydney, Austin, and Erwin Rise, the primary attorney that's negotiated the deal from the state from actually prior to the MOU. And then again, Lyro Engineers, and they have several sub-consultants that are working. Landon Ryan is doing MWBE compliance. We have a firm out of Philadelphia that's experienced with designing stadiums, so we bring them as needed. But primarily, it's the Lyro Engineers and their local team that's going to be on site and helping us.
Thank you.
Other questions? This time, anyone from the public who would like to ask a question or comment? Provide the opportunity if anybody's here. See, now we have no comments from the public either, and I'd like to now entertain a motion for approval. Second, any discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Yes, unanimously. Okay. Thank you. That carries. Steve, I will also now present the final item on today's agenda, a request for authorization to affirm the general project plan for the stadium project and to take all related actions. So, Steve.
Great. At our last board meeting, I kind of explained the process. We adopted a plan, which the board approved. We ended up holding a public hearing out at ECC South and took comments both at the hearing and via email. If we get negative comments, we bring those back to the board for final approval. We've included the list of comments, the transcript of the meeting, and the staff responses to those comments. Overall, we had 10 people speak. We got 2 written comments. I mean, there were probably 30 people there, but only 10 actually spoke at the meeting. And we've summarized the comments. And I break it down into a number of things. There was certainly a concern about local workforce participation. We know that's a focus. It's a focus of the governor. It's a focus of the bills. The bricklayers union has concerns about certain aspects. We have met with them. We actually met with the bills, and Paul was there representing the unions yesterday. And, you know, we're working through those issues. It's certainly a priority of everybody. We had a couple people saying the Dome Stadium, that was never, well, it was considered early on, but, you know, I think that boat has sailed. We're going with an open air stadium due to cost, but also the fan experience. I mean, the Bills had done a lot of survey work, and, you know, they think their fan base prefers, certainly not everybody, we're not making everybody happy, but prefers the open air. And then we had comments from a lot of the neighbors concerned about construction impacts. You know, we're working with the Bills. They'll have a team to address those. So all in all, I thought, quite frankly, fairly minor overall, but we've addressed them. We don't think it changes the plan. I mean, there's certainly going to be tweaks in the process moving forward in response to those comments, but nothing that alters the plan. So what we're asking the board to do is affirm the general project plan and then authorize, you know, the stadium corporation to move forward, enter the necessary agreements, and, you know, that'll be our final approval, stamp of approval from this corporation needed to move the project forward. So we're asking the board to affirm, authorize entering in all the necessary agreements. And as I mentioned last time, we have the main agreements are extensions to the current lease, a new lease, construction and development agreement, the non-relocation agreement, extension and non-relocation agreement, and the community benefits agreement, and 40 other little documents here and there. So we're asking the board authorization to move forward with that. So
I'll just add to Steve's comments, other comments and in the responses. I thought the comments were thoughtful and respectful and based on what neighbors or other parties involved would ask. Those of us that attended neighborhood meetings over the years, I think they're consistent. I also want to commend the state for the responses. I thought the responses were also very thoughtful and comprehensive. And, you know, I thought overall was, I thought it was a great meeting. We're there, but a great discussion and great responses. So any questions or comments from the directors on that? Yes.
I just want to underscore the fact that in addition to the stadium corporation, the county, the state,
Sure.
the Bills began the seeker process last June, at least two public meetings. Then they went to the legislature, who also had a public meeting. And though we're talking about the stadium corporation and maybe 2 months, it's really the seeker process was a much longer process, had the same sort of comments addressed very thoughtfully and thoroughly by the various team members. So it's not just the stadium corporation that did this sort of public outreach.
That's a grep point, because some of our responses were just off what the seeker was done. Traffic management, that was thoroughly studied by the county. They've actually come up with a written traffic management plan. And that is, you know, there's a team of state, local Bills officials that are all constantly meeting on traffic safety and modifying that. So to Jeremy's point, yeah, this was kind of the culmination of really a year-long process and multiple hearings had by the county that we attended. So overall, I think I think the public is pleased generally. They need to sign a middle linebacker and a receiver, and I think we'll be all set.
Win a Super Bowl.
We all agree with that. Any other comments, directors?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I just said, mine is off topic, Mr. Chairman. Was there a name change for the leasee?
Yeah, it was the Bills have a million different entities that are working on this, right? The entity that they've had as their entity that's actually signing the lease is Obstat LLC. They changed the name of that company to I don't even know it off the top of my head, but
Stadium and event.
yeah, it's the same entity. And just so everybody knows, there's for tax purposes, they have multiple entities. But from our perspective, the entity that owns the team will guarantee those obligations. So that's the most important thing. And the entity that owns the team will sign the non-relocation agreement. So in other words, Obstead, whatever they want to call it, from our perspective, it's up to them. We're not, as long as we know the entity with the team is backstopping all the obligations, we're fine with it.
So are we entering into agreement with all of the entities or just this specific one?
The lease will be with Obstead, not whatever it's called now. A non-relocation will be with the Bills team entity. Then there's an overall guarantee where the Bills entity will overall guarantee all these other agreements. So it's a hodgepodge of various entities. But for the most
But
part,
one signatory being the Buffalo Bills.
well, they'll have Obstead, again, that new entity, the Bills, and the Bills, I'll see whatever they name of the team. So I think there's actually two entities from the Bills that will be signing various agreements. The state will just be the state incorporation, and the county, just the county.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The action that we will take under item 4 relative to the stadium, you said that there'll be several agreements. When will those agreements, including the CBA, be released to the public?
Pretty soon. We're wrapping up things. As I said, there's a lot of lawyering going on. They'll be released when the county legislature gives its final approval, and we're hoping very soon.
Clarification, they'll be released when they get sent to
The county legislature.
And then the county legislature has 30 days to review. I believe we're planning multiple meetings with the county legislature. We're bringing in our outside counsel. I mean, that's up to the chairwoman exactly the schedule that we're going to follow. But so they'll be released prior to or in conjunction with being sent to the county legislature, and then there'll be a 30-day.
Yeah,
roughly
once
30 days.
documents come to the legislature, they're public.
In 30 days, they can't take action. Right? Resolution
I believe
We're
that's
gonna take 30
So
days to
the-
deliberate.
will be in the public domain for 30 days.
And then that will finalize the agreements. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Other questions, comments? Again, anyone here from the public would like to comment or ask a question? Before you have a motion? Seeing none, I'd like to ask for a motion for approval. A second. Any comments?
You went first last time.
That was for Steve.
All of them.
I'm going to go this first. Any comments before we vote? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Well, thank everybody for participation. Before we have a motion to close, any comments, questions from the directors or the public before we have a motion to close? Seeing none, I want to thank everybody for your participation and being part of this. I want to thank the state, the team from Upper State Development and Corporation for providing all the documents to read and go over. And I thank that everybody be prepared. I want to welcome our new president, Steve Brunelli, to the team, which I think is a great addition. And without any further ado, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I got it.
As long as this one, all in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, New York.